Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. Today we're going to continue with a run cycle, so let's get to it. Today I'm going to be importing, I'm going to go here, actually I'm going to open the scene and I'm just going to open the walk cycle that we did before. And the reason why I want to show you this is I want to show you how sometimes we can utilize or reuse some of the animations that we have and make our lives a little bit easier. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this guy right here. Let's delete that guy right here. Let's delete this one as well. And I'm going to save this as a different scene. So I'm going to save scene as, and I'm going to call this a run cycle. And the first thing I want to do is I want to eliminate this motion trail and the animation that this thing had. So I'm going to go into the triangle graph editor, grab everything here. I'm just going to delete. So that way we're pretty much disconnecting this from any animation. And that means that when we play, we're only going to have our walk cycle. So I'm going to grab this guy right here. And I'm going to, of course, change the rotations back to 0. And let's change the position back to the center here. There we go. So a run cycle, guys, it's pretty much the same thing that we have for a walk cycle. It's just a little bit more intense and it's a little bit faster, okay? It's usually half the time that we normally have. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my right view and let's start animating. So let's go here to the walker, grab all of this, guys. Let's go all the way down here. And just to keep it simple, I'm going to go into the graph editor, grab everything. And on the curves post-infinity, I'm going to say a linear. And curves pre-infinity, I'm also going to say linear. Now, if we see infinity, if we go here, view infinity, you might see that sometimes you get this weird angles right here. These angles happen when we have an infinity setup and we do a spline, like what we did before, to soften up a little bit of the animation. And we don't want that. So I'm just going to grab these handles right here. I'm just going to flatten them out. And all of those are flat, so we're fine there. Now, on the run cycle, one thing that you're going to notice is that the character is usually a little bit more like front loaded or front facing like forward like this, because he really wants to get like far, right? So his strides are going to be longer, and therefore his inclinations a little bit is going to be a little bit bigger. Now you can see here that this is pretty much going to be a constant. We're going to be changing the height, of course, but this is going to be a constant throughout the animation. So I'm just going to middle mouse and animate this position for the sphere pretty much everywhere. So we got this. Now, the first step, which by the way, if you want to, I've included the run cycle JPEG here, the animation. You can have it here as a guide. So the first step that we're going to do, as you can see, is the contact point or the contact pose. And as you can see, it's a little bit different. Instead of having both feet on the ground, you're only going to have one of them. The character is going to be now a little bit lower. Let's go like right there. It's a big stride. And this one right here is going to be on the back, like this. You can see that the foot is usually flat, so let's keep it flat for now. And we already know that this pose is going to be the last pose, so we can just copy and paste. Now we can go to this one right here, and we can copy the exact same thing that we had. So it's this like very long stride here. As you can see, this one goes a little bit lower, so let's just go here and copy that position. There we go. That means that this guy has to be pushed a little bit forward. And we can just like check in between these guys to make sure that they're as close as possible. Of course, this guy, we're going to get rid of the toe roll. And we're just going to move this guy into position. A little bit more like this. There we go. That's good. So we get our contact poses ready. Now we have the down pose, which is this one right here. And we are definitely going to push this guy like down. And this guy is going to be rotated like this. There we go. So let's copy this guy to this one right here. And now we are going to go here. It's just a matter of making sure that this guy has roughly the same like rotation and orientation, right? So from this to this, which is good. We do need a little bit more squash here, just a little bit. So I'm just gonna squash it a little bit more. There we go. That's way closer. There we go. Then we go into the passing position, which is this one, as you can see. Again, this foot is just sliding back, and this guy is pushing forward. It's gonna be very simple in this case because it's pretty much there. We just need to like do this a little bit nicer. For instance, the toe roll there, probably not as much. Same thing here, like the toe roll here, probably not as much. And then we go into the up position, or the passing position, which here we definitely do need to add a little bit of toe roll to make sure that the feet is looking nice. I might even like just move it. This guy moves up as well. Up position should be a little bit lower. The down position is the lowest, and then up a little bit more, and then we just go down. So same thing here. Just add a little bit of a toe roll. Sorry, not full toe roll. Push this guy forward like this. We should have this and this, very similar. So now, if we take a look at the animation, we get this, right? So the poses are right, but the timing is completely wrong, right? The character is not actually working the way we want him to work. But that's fine, because now what we can do is we can just grab all of the curves, grab all of the frames, and then just condense them down to half, which is about 15. Now remember what we talked about when we did this with the animations? When we do this, one of the things that happens is that the animations get compressed and the keyframes do not land on the exact like full number. So I'm just gonna right click here and I'm gonna say snap. That's gonna make sure that the animations now are exactly where they need to be, and we're gonna get this. Run cycles are really fast. It's just part of the way they work. So normally you're not even gonna need as many like poses. In this case, we definitely do need them, but sometimes you're gonna say, like, if we go for like a really fast pose, like let's say 10 frames, and we snap here, you're gonna see that there's gonna be some frames that are so close together that you're not even gonna see it, but the character is gonna be moving the legs so fast that you really don't need those in betweens, because it's just not necessary. Now we can of course grab everything here. We can go curves, post infinity, let's do a cycle, and if we take a look at how things look, we're gonna get this. And we can do the exact same thing that we did before with the character. Like, we can definitely just add a curve, add a sort of like plane or like some heels and stuff, and make him run for it. But I want to show you something a little bit different, because this is what we're gonna do with our next exercise. Like, how could we grab this guy right here and make it so that he runs and moves at the same time, right? Some of you might say, well, if we want to just like animate a run, why not just like move this curve around at the speed that we need it? And the problem with doing that is that that's just not the proper way to do it. We actually need to properly calibrate how this character is gonna move, okay? So in order for this to work, we need to understand which curves really move the character, which in this case are this curve right here, this curve right here, this curve right here, and of course this little guys right here. Right, the pull vectors. So I'm gonna select those 5 curves right here, and I'm gonna say create set, quick select set. I'm gonna call this walker movement. I'm gonna say okay. So now we have this walker movement. That's the most important one, because we're controlling the main areas, which actually we're just like leaving out one curve, I think. Yeah, it's just one curve that we're leaving out, but that's fine, because this is going to allow us to control or show you what I want to show you. So I'm going to save this real quick, and I'm going to save this as a new file. I'm going to call this file save scene as, and let's save this as run cycle movement. Now, I know that throughout this element, or throughout this run cycle, this character is going to move forward. So the best thing I can do is just move him forward. Like, if I go here to frame 15 and I go to my right view, I can say, okay, I'm expecting this guy to start here on this point. He's gonna land, and then based on the size of the stride, he's probably gonna do one more stride, which is the opposite feet. And then, since this is the next pose that we're gonna use to land, he's gonna probably end up right about here. So the next contact pose that we have for the character using this guys, which is frame 8, right? It's the opposite contact pose. I know that this guy is probably gonna be about here. Got it? So the movement of this guy is gonna be right about there. And then the last movement, he's probably gonna be about here. See how I'm using all of the elements at the same time to move him around? Now, if we play this, of course, it's going to look very weird, because he's going to like move forward and then back and then forward and then back, but that's fine. We have few poses, so I just know that, for instance, this first pose, we're gonna land, but we're not gonna land here because on the first pose, here's where the heel is, right? So I know that on this pose, that heel should be right about there. Right where he landed on the first pose, on this one. So that's where the heel lands. And then this one right here, I also know that that's where the heel was. So I'm just gonna move him right there. So it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, probably a little bit forward. And then 4. This one right here is where he's pushing. So he's definitely gonna be all the way over here as well. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how it looks like he's like going back? That means that we need to move him a little bit more forward. I'm gonna get rid of this guy, of the grease pencil thing. I'm just gonna go by eye. So I'm just gonna go here, and if I go to frame 3, I do feel like he's moving backwards a little bit. So I'm just gonna push him a little bit. Now, it's very important that you don't use W and move. You need to like literally grab him here and just move him a little bit. So we're going to have this and then this one. Again, we want to match it as close as possible. And then that one's fine. I think we can move it a little bit lower like this. And then we transition into this one right here, which is the next stride, right? See how it looks very, very natural for the stride to go right about there. And then this one, of course, is going to land on the next one. So if this is the position, I'm expecting him to land right about here. I'm using middle mouse button to just like move everything where my mouse is. So there we go. Now I know that that's where the heel stops, like a little bit before that line. So I'm going to go to the next one, this one right here. I'm going to need to move it all the way over here, like this. So that's where I land, and that's where I land. Now, this is just one way to do it. I actually really like it, especially when we're working with small areas. Some people like to do other styles. Some people even animate like the bottom graph. It's not wrong per se. It's just not the proper way to do it. There we go. And then that's like this next stride is probably going to be a little bit forward. So what you want is for the movement to feel like he's actually moving forward. See that? So it is a little bit tricky, it is a little bit complicated, but it's not that bad, and once you get the hang of it, it's actually very, very easy. Now, I'm going to stop the video right here, guys, but we're going to continue working from this guy right here, okay? So what I'm going to do, in case you're having issues with this part of the exercise, because I do know that it gets a little bit tricky, I'm going to save the scene as movement. Let's call this run cycle jump start, okay? Because we're gonna do a jump now from this guy, and we're gonna continue using this poses right here, okay? So hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye bye.